The one thing I always carry, this is a tactical pen. It's a
Hold on,
tactical
wait,
pen.
hold on.
Oh, I
Oh,
think you got one too. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. Tactical pen. This one has a little flashlight on the end of it. Um, the only problem with this one is if you notice where the pen clip is, it sticks up a little bit higher out of your pocket, so it flags itself. But because it sticks up higher out of your pocket, it can be easier to grab in an emergency. This is Corey Jones.
all right. We are back. We are live. Welcome to another podcast with the man, the myth, the legend, Safety Man.
Safety Man, safetyman.co at safetymanco on all your social media. Anthony, thanks for bringing me on, or should I say, eat a hoagie. And we got some good tips in this podcast that we're doing today. So our goal, as always, is to keep everyone safe.
Yeah, and so we've talked about international travel before, so I thought we do a little domestic travel.
Yeah,
There's the TSA, the safety, the whole process of getting on a plane for a lot of people is very stressful. And so I figured let's talk about that. I know you travel a lot for work. I do a
yeah.
lot of personal travel. So, I figured let's dive in. Have you traveled anywhere lately? What's up with you, man? What's new? Anything?
I think the last time I traveled was probably in 22 and had no problems. Everything that I normally travel with, I do continue to travel with. Kind of used to it now. So that's one thing is especially on Instagram. If you follow TSA on Instagram, not only is it full of good tips, but it's hysterical, right?
Yeah, so I think I do follow them, and the thing I see on there all the time, I guess, is that people. I think the number one thing is people bring pocket knives. They forget probably they have them
Yeah.
because I mean I usually carry a pocket knife around with me on my keys and things like that. So I always see people pick. I always see them posting pictures, but then there's like the most random stuff. Like there's like a machete on there, or like just random stuff, and you're like, at what point did you think that this is going to be able to be brought on a plane? And
Yeah, I mean, having been a cop for 27 years, we see people do the darndest things, right?
yeah, like I don't know if it was just I don't know if it's just like I don't think it's like terrorism. I think it's just pure
Right.
stupidity. Like I think it's just
Yeah.
absolute stupidity on some of these people's parts. Like, oh, I guess I could bring this here with me. Like,
Yeah, no. 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 But if you do have a question in all seriousness, and again, what do we always say, Anthony? We're not ever giving you legal advice. Always check with your carrier, your airline carrier. Always go to TSA.gov and almost anything you Google in there, what can I bring and what can I not bring? It'll be very clear on exactly the amount, the weight, the manufacturer, what it does. And there's also a difference between if you can travel with it in your carry-on in your pocket or if you have to check it. So always make sure you make sure you know the difference because there'll be people that'll tell you anecdotally, oh yeah, I took that on a plane. Well, that's still is a 50-50 chance of where they put it, right?
one thing I've never done. I don't know if you have. Have you ever have you ever traveled with a firearm?
Never a firearm, but with one of the companies I work for, Bowler Wrap, we did travel with those, had to put them in our checked luggage. We had to get a letter from Bowler Wrap, a letter from the agency that we're going to train with, and then clear that with the carrier, the airline carrier, so they knew. And I had to go to the secondary screening where I still checked it, but I told them. So I didn't go anywhere. TSA came to me and they checked it and said, all right, they didn't know what it was. So I had to show them a video on my iPhone and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you can keep that in your checked luggage.
Yeah, I would assume that's probably safe advice. Like if you're
Yeah.
planning on travel with a firearm, like for some reason you have to carry it across state lines or any kind of weapon that you think is close, like for obviously for your purposes, you're doing trainings and things like that.
Right.
I think the easiest way to do it is just call the TSA
Hmm.
ahead of time, right? Like don't just
Yeah.
show up there with the stuff and just expect to get on because then it's gonna be a huge process. So I would say that your best bet probably is just to call a week or two ahead of time and say, hey, this is what I got. What do you need me to bring to
Yeah.
make sure that I'm
Yeah.
compliant, right?
Yeah. And let me just add a few steps to that too. You definitely want to call your carrier. You also want to call the actual airport that you're going to because New Jersey airports, Philadelphia airports, New York airports, and then your destination airport where you go to, you want to make sure you're going to be legally allowed to travel with that firearm from your home to the airport and then right to TSA, because that's the first thing they tell you to do is get rid of that firearm. Get that firearm in a locked case. You're gonna have to put a sticker on the outside of your case. Ammunition obviously has to be separate. The firearm has to be in an unloaded condition. But all that's found on the TSA.gov website.
Yeah, and so speaking of that, that was also the reason I was kind of bringing this up because I know you have it. I just got it myself, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Was I just got my TSA Pre Check
Yeah.
approved? Yeah, you know what? I travel so much, and I was like, I was kind of putting it off for a minute, and I was like, you know what? I was like, it's worth it. So it cost me $78.
Yep.
It was a lot easier than I thought.
Mhm.
I thought it was going to be a huge process, and it wasn't. I looked up basically where in the area that you can go, and I thought originally that you had to go to like maybe one place that was forever away. But now there's all these like sub stores, like I think like even Staples and things like that you can go to, and so
Wow.
basically you just basically pick the local spot you want to go to. I did it online. I went onto the TSA, looked up the local places, put in my info, booked the date and time. There was a little local place. It was actually near Legacy. It's
Okay.
actually in one of those suites they do it.
Oh wow.
So I went there, and they take your picture, your fingerprints, and then I put it in here just so people want that. I'm sure people want to know. You basically just have to bring like some kind of solid ID. So you have to bring at least two documents, and I'll read them off real quick. From list A, it says and the documents must include a valid photo ID and a document that meets citizen requirements. So that includes an unexpired U.S. passport, an unexpired enhanced tribal card, an unexpired free and secure trade card. I'm not sure what that is.
Me neither.
Unexpired U.S. enhanced driver's license or unexpired enhanced identification card. So basically a state ID. Permanent residence card, often called a green card. Unexpired foreign passport, immigrant visa. There's some more subs to that. An unexpired reentry permit. So basically, if you have a passport and you have a license, you're
Yeah.
pretty much good to go.
Yeah.
They're probably the two easiest to have to get your TSA pre-check done and approved. So, and
Yeah.
it's got to have obviously valid photo ID. The it has to be issued by a state or a possession of the U.S. outlying area of the U.S. You can also use military ID, U.S. birth certificates, naturalization cards. So there's a whole list of them that's right on the. If you just Google TSA pre-check, the ID. So I basically just brought my license and my passport, but just to be even more precautious, I even brought my birth certificate as well. So I brought three forms of ID.
Yeah.
Went there, $78. You pay for it online. You book your time. You go in. They do your fingerprints, pictures. They verify your IDs and I guess photograph it or scan it or whatnot. And then they send it in. And then I got an email 3 days later with my ID number that I'm using now.
Yep.
And that's it. They approved me. So it was
And
a pretty
that's that known traveler numbers. That's what it's still called, right?
yeah,
The
the known
KTA.
traveler number.
Yeah.
And it was pretty simple. So now, I mean, you've been through it a few times now. So what abilities does that give you having the TSA pre-check now?
So once you get that known traveler number, that number that they sent you back on the ID, when you book your reservations and you go down and start to fill out all your personal information, it'll ask you for if you have a known travel number. So that way, when you get your boarding pass, whether it be on your, an e-boarding pass on your mobile device, or for some reason, if you decide to print one out, it'll have that pre-check symbol on your boarding pass, which is important because when you go up and show the TSA agent when they're telling you which line to go to, they need to see that you're pre-check. So when I've gone there, Anthony, it was so fast that I wasn't ready. Like I get there, they're like, "Yeah, just come on," and I'm starting to take stuff off, and they're like, "No, no, 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 don't worry about it. Just put the stuff through." The only thing that they get a little upset about is you can't have any water, no liquids, right? So
Yeah,
I
that's
always carry a water bottle, but if you remember,
just
in most airports, once you get through, they got those water filling stations, so you can fill it back up with fresh water again. I went to the bar and see if they fill it up with beer. She chose not to, but it's very fast. They're very smooth. They're very professional. They're real happy. It's so much faster.
yeah. I'm looking forward to being able to use it now that I have it.
Yeah,
And so I guess from what I understand, like you don't take your shoes off. I know
yeah.
the lines are shorter because I see it all the time. That was my main reason for doing it. Not that I'm ever
Anthony,
really.
there wasn't a line. Every time I went, there was no line. I get there, and you're not. You got to figure out. All right, I got to do what do I got to take off, what I got to take out. My iPad. They're like, don't worry about that. Just you're good. You got the pre-check. You're good.
Yeah,
It's
and
very fast.
I would say, I guess the requirements are you can't be a criminal. I'm
Yeah,
assuming is step number one to
yeah,
get your TSA pre-check.
yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you're a criminal, this is probably not the podcast for you.
Right. Yeah.
But hey,
And the last thing is if you have a really, really common name like a John Smith or something like that, or unfortunately, if you have a name that's very similar to somebody on a terror watch list or
mm,
no fly list, it's just going to take you longer to get approved. And you may get contacted by, because it's not that place that you go to that approves it. They just capture information, send it up, right? And then the government's going to be approving it. The Transportation Safety Administration is going to be the one that's going to approve it. So if you have a really, really common name and it could get flagged for somebody in Oregon or Pennsylvania or whatever, so don't wait until a month before you travel to apply for it. If you want to apply for it, you don't even know if you're going to travel, but you know you will at some point. Just apply for it now while you're thinking about it.
yeah, and it says that children 17 and under can also join adults with the TSA pre-check. So even if it sounds like even your son or daughter doesn't have it, they can still come with you,
Yes.
which is another little perk because I have some young children that I take places with me, so that's cool. Um,
Does it
and
say if your spouse can go or not, a significant other? Because when I applied, I think 3 or 4 years ago, it was not. That was not the case.
yeah, no, I think that's still the same.
Okay.
Your significant other still has to get their own done. Um, it's used by over 200 airports. It's nationwide, pretty much. 85 plus airlines approve, provide TSA pre-check. So it's just an easier way to travel. I think there's a lot of I don't I don't really use the word because for myself for anxiety, but for a lot of people it's very anxious to get on a plane for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I think if you're one of those people, this is definitely another reason to get it because it just makes it a lot smoother. And listen, I've had a couple of issues where like I've been stuck. I've gotten there 2 hours early and I'm still in a long, long line. And
Right.
you're like,
Right.
oh man, you're like, man, I hope we get through. And usually it's fine and works itself out. But
Yeah.
it's also a very convenient fact when you get through and you can sit down, you can have a drink, you can relax a little bit, grab something to eat. I mean, that's a lot better feeling than sitting in
Exactly.
their line. And then everyone's pissed off in that line. Always. Everyone's
Yeah.
always pissed off
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
line.
yeah. And
Always.
like you alluded to, I think that's going to be something that'll help reduce that anxiety because all leading up there, you travel to there, you still get there early. Like you said, my favorite thing is to get there 2.5 hours early, race through pre-check, and then I, just chill, find my gate, look at that, make sure they're good to go, and then like you said, go have a cocktail, go have a sandwich, pay way overpriced for it, but
Yeah.
you know,
Killing me.
yeah,
Kill me on those prices,
it's
man.
like Six Flags. They got you hostage there.
They do. They do. They're like $14 for. Oh,
Yeah.
that was the kicker. Listen, I'm not gonna rant too much here, but I am gonna throw this out here. I just recently traveled, coming back from Las Vegas, and so I usually grab a sandwich for the plane and like a snack and a drink because that's the other thing. In the airport's one price, and then when you get on the plane, it's usually twice the price to get
Oh
stuff. So I
yeah,
usually grab the stuff before I go on the plane. I put it in my bag,
yeah.
take it on. So it was eight. So I went to grab a sandwich and I'm like, okay, I'll grab this. And I picked it up and I was like, all right, whatever, $8 or whatever. But then I realized it was only a half a sandwich. It was $8 for half a sandwich. I was
uh,
like, man, inflation is rough around
Yeah,
here.
yeah. And you
I
are
was,
allowed to travel with pre-made food. You can pack sandwiches, fried chicken. You can pack anything you want except the liquids, right? Except the liquids. So you're gonna have to bite the bullet and get the liquids. Once you get on the other side of that pre-check. But yeah, you can bring your own food too and snacks.
yeah, I usually pack like snack, like trail mix, things like that, like
Yeah.
easy things. Um, my my I wanted to talk about carrying stuff on, and we'll get into that in a second. But
Uh-huh.
this is like I get made fun of this, but it's coming back now, so I don't feel bad anymore. I bring the fanny pack on the plane, man. That's my number
Yeah.
one go to.
Absolutely.
The fanny pack is like is coming back, and let me tell you why. I like it because it's they say like one personal item, but they never really count the fanny pack as your
No.
personal item because
No.
it's on you.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, like when you put your bag overhead, all my stuff is right here in my fanny pack. You have it across your chest or across your stomach, however you
Yeah.
ever have it. But I have my like headphones, battery pack, snack,
Yep.
my my phone, just little a pen and paper, like whatever. It's all right there, so I barely have to get up while I'm on the plane except to use the restroom or whatever. You don't
Yeah.
have to go digging through your bag and trying to grab this. It's like it's all right here, and right in my space. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We're about to spin out of control here because my carry-on thing is also 50% a bug out bag. So I got
Mhm.
I'm thinking if the plane has to ditch somewhere, I watched this show called Airline Disasters only because I like the investigation side of it. I'm not a sensationalist, but there was times when people were trapped for hours or days and they had nothing. So I have 4 or 5 protein bars, a fire starter kit, and stuff. Just the flint, so it's not illegal, and stuff like that. Signaling mirror, my work gloves, my mechanics gloves, and stuff like that. So if I do get off the plane, I got to go back and help somebody, so I don't cut my hands up. I always wear long BDU pants and tactical boots, and people laugh at me. They're like, one person was going to give me their seat. Oh, are you veteran? I was like, no, no, but thank you.
What do you carry on the plane?
So I carry. Are we ready to go to our writing equipment, our special writing equipment?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing I always carry. This is a tactical pen. It's a
Hold on,
tactical
wait,
pen.
hold on.
Oh, I
Oh,
think you got one too. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. Tactical pen. This one has a little flashlight on the end of it. Um, the only problem with this one is if you notice where the pen clip is, it sticks up a little bit higher out of your pocket, so it flags itself. But because it sticks up higher out of your pocket, it can be easier to grab in an emergency. And then you unscrew it, it becomes a regular pen, and then put it back together. And then
yeah,
now it's a writing instrument. You could still use that. Obviously, as a tactic pen while it's in pen writing mode. But I love it. I've flown to Europe with this, and all around the USA. Probably flown 10 times with these tactical pens. And the only time I had an issue was once I landed. I wound up giving it to a family member when I was in Europe, so I didn't have one to fly back with. They liked it so much, so
yeah.
I gave it to them. But
Yeah, I mean, I like having it as well. You know, obviously you can write with it if you need to write something down,
Mhm.
but I like it too because just, a lot of places sometimes if you're traveling personally, you're usually carrying cash on you, you're visiting places you're not familiar with. So just having something extra in your pocket in case you need it. Now, this isn't a sharp edge here. It's just I guess you can use it to break a window if you needed to. That's the main purpose of the end here. But it
Mhm.
is pretty durable, so if you had to defend yourself for some
Oh yeah.
reason, this is something good to have in your hand.
Oh yeah.
They're pretty sturdy to have. Now I have two I want to show examples of. Um, one's a more of a patrol one, I call it, and one's more of just like carrying for the plane. So this one's my basic, just carrying a plane. Has the hard
Yes.
end for striking, has the pen, so that you can write. It's very basic, but I do write things down, notes or ideas or things like that. So I keep a little paper with it as well in my bag. Now
Yep.
this one here is like my patrol one. It's kind of a little more similar to yours.
Yep.
It has a bunch of little unique features. So I'm not gonna blow it, but it's got a little whistle on the end. It's got a little whistle on the end. It's
You
got
got me on the whistle. I don't have a whistle on mine. I
it's
like
got a
that.
flashlight on that, and that with the strobe on it as well.
Oh, you got to send me the link to that one.
Yeah,
You gotta
this
put
one is
that in
called.
do I have to wait for I have to wait and check the notes down below for the link in the
Yeah,
description?
I'll put it down there, but this is called Will Luck. I don't know if I'll be able to say it.
Oh, yeah, we can see it. We'll look.
Will Luck.
Okay.
I found it off Amazon. So yeah, so it's got that now. It's got a couple other little cool things about it. It's got on this end when you unscrew it, it's got a little like screwdriver,
Yeah.
bottle opener, little sharp. Not I don't want to say sharp edge there. It's a little rugged edge. So I don't know
Yeah.
if this will fly on the plane. That's the only issue. I haven't tested
It
this
it
one.
will. I did it
Okay, and
because
then
I have one that has that too.
it's got the other two things it's got the glass break on this part,
Yep.
and then it's got an actual pen on it as well. So
Yeah.
it breaks down to a bunch of little things. But this is more of a patrol one, just because it's like a backup. It's a backup pen. It's got the light there, and the little tool thing if I got to use it. But this is the one I travel with. And again, I haven't had any issues, and I just feel more comfortable walking around the streets or wherever I'm
Yeah.
going with having something in my pocket just in
Yeah.
case. Um,
So that basic one that you have, Anthony, I get them. I just happen to get them in all tactical black, of course. High speed tactical black. And there's a place, the Hallmark store right in Marlton, in Crispin Square Shopping Center. You can get them engraved. So I get safetyman.co engraved on them, and
where's
then
where's mine at, man?
I
Where?
probably already offered you one, but I
Nah,
give it
I
to my
need one.
clients. When they book something, I give it to them. It's in a
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
box and everything, and they open it up. Has my website on. That's a really basic one. It's just a tactical pen
Okay.
and a writing pen. So the last thing I want to say before I forget is the way I take this on the airplane. I normally don't have it in my pocket. and most backpacks, most cross packs, they have the little um, uh, areas where you can stick regular pens. So I always put two regular pens in there, and then I turn this into a pen, and I stick that right next to my other two pens, and it has those little loops for it. So when you do that and it goes through the X-ray machine, it just looks like three pens next to each other. I've never even had anybody take it out. Now I'm not trying to be shady or anything like that, because you look on the TSA website, it says that these are legal, but people are people. And we all run across people that sometimes don't know the rules perfectly. So I just avoid issues that way. But I have gone through with it in my pocket before, and I dump it in that little bin and had no problems with it.
I think a good analogy to this is again, this is not legal advice, but it was a lawyer, I think, said it. He's like, if you're gonna carry a baseball bat in your car, make sure you have a glove and ball to go with it, right?
Yes.
Like same thing.
Yep.
Like if you're gonna carry a pen, I do, but I use the pen for writing, so it
Yes.
it it, it works for me because I do write things down. So I keep paper with my pen. I have a
Right.
little notepad. Actually, I have one right here. I have a little notepad,
Yep.
and I just clip it right there, and I put it in my fanny pack,
Yep.
and it's just sitting there, pen and paper.
Yep.
So if I got to write something down, it's there and ready to go. But yeah, if you're gonna have it there, you don't want to have this sharpened and be like, I saw it, so it's illegal. No, it's for
Yeah.
writing utensil purposes.
Exactly.
And they say, why do you have this? You don't go because I want to stab somebody in case I have to. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that is
See,
not
yeah.
the answer you're
Yeah.
gonna put out there. Like what I mean? Like
Exactly.
this is for writing
Exactly.
utensil, but if you need to break a window or some kind of safety measure if you're driving or whatever when you land, it has
Mhm.
that capability as well.
Yep.
So yeah, if
Absolutely.
you're gonna carry a baseball bat in your car, make sure you have a glove and a ball to go with it.
Yeah. I have to check if you can carry a baseball bat on the airplane.
Huh. I, I'm I'm sure they'll charge you out the ass for it because it's a big item.
Yeah.
But
Or if you go to the Phillies game and it's that mini bat day, you get the little ones.
yeah, are mini bats legal on the plane? I don't know. That's a good question too. I don't know.
Somebody
But
find that out and let us know in the
yeah,
comments,
let us
please.
know. But yeah, I mean, if you need something like that though, you can check your bags,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
golf clubs and all that stuff. It just they charge you so much to do that stuff. That's I try to avoid checking bags the most part. I'm a book bag guy and I'm good to go. Book bag and fanny pack, and I'm on the plane. Like, I've gone to Europe, which is a book bag, literally.
I'm allergic to books. I do everything on Audible. So when you said that, it just blew me off.
But yeah, no, I've gone to Europe with just a book bag on my shoulder, and
Yep.
been fine. I think that's one thing too is that, and we probably talked a little bit about it, but even domestically, you know, even more so than internationally, you know, packing lighter is a prep tool in itself.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
people overpack for everything, and
Yeah.
just underpacking. If there's something you desperately need, you just pick it up at the local. Everywhere you go, there's a Walmart, Target, CVS.
Exactly.
Walgreens. You can get pretty much anything you need
Yeah,
in one of
you
these
get an
spots.
actual full size shampoo. Not, I mean,
Yeah.
not for me, obviously, but lotion. I do need a lot of lotion because I do tend to get a little ashy depending on where I'm going.
Anything else you carry on the planes?
Like I said, that I usually carry like that small. So that we were talking before about bug out bags. There's also a get home bag, right? A little like which is a smaller bug out bag. So most of the time, you're probably going to want to get home if something happens. It's usually the safest place in an emergency. So, or you remember on 95 and a couple other places, 76 and the Pennsylvania Turnpike, cars got trapped late a year or two ago in giant snowstorms for hours. They were running out of gas. So again, those protein bars, you can get water packets, emergency, just a really small emergency blanket. Because if you're trapped in 30-degree weather with no heat in your car, you're definitely going to want to do something to keep you warm. So I do keep those little things in there. It's not a lot of stuff. You could probably fit it in a really giant Ziploc bag, which I put it in just to make sure it's watertight. Because if we do have to make a water landing, I don't want to have all my stuff get rusted up and lost. Extra battery packs, charging cables, USB-C, lightning, and all those things.
Yeah, yeah. I do bring like a little. I have a little poncho that I bring with me too, like a little
Okay.
sealed plastic, which I figured I could use pretty much anything. If I need to use a blank, turn it into a blanket, I need to wrap something up in it, tie something up,
Yep.
keep something sealed. It folds out pretty big.
Yeah.
So I always usually put that in my fanny pack as well. But that also, half time I'm going places in downpour or something, just good to have too. It's come in handy
Yeah.
more times than none. So just carrying that, it's very light, very easy to carry and stuff like that. But
Indeed. Indeed.
But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the TSA, so I'm going to report back on how my go through. Now, a lot of it's nice too because a lot of the machines now, the I've seen now is before you had to take out all the electronics. Now they're just telling you to keep them in some of the newer
Yep.
machines, and so they just scan through. The AI is a lot more
Yeah.
advanced and can like really break down looking for weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
A question I had, and I don't know if you ever dealt with this. Have you ever been at the range and then had an issue when you went to them smelling like the
Yeah.
powder or anything on your hand?
Yes. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have?
They wiped it. Yeah, they did. They wiped the thing and then put it through, and then they pulled me aside. I didn't go to secondary screening, but they pulled me aside once, and then they wiped a whole round on the inside of my bag and did that. And I was too because I'm at the range a lot trading
Yeah.
my clients for CCWs and things like that. And it was probably the same week. It definitely was the same week I was at the range. Not the same. No, I did fly the same day to Europe when I was at the range, but I didn't get any secondary screening that day. But yeah, the guy just kind of wiped my hands down, and then he wiped my bag down, and I told him what I did. He says, "Okay, that's probably what it was. No problem."
Yeah, I think, once they check your bags and everything like that, they can tell or
Yeah,
whatever, but I was always curious to that because I've never flown on a range day, but
yeah,
I know you're at the range probably about 3 times more than I am.
yeah,
So, I was wondering, but yeah, so I guess they just test it. They, if you have a explanation and they check all your stuff. Now,
yeah.
do
I
they have
mean,
to go through?
they looked at me. They could tell that that Corey, this guy's not a criminal or a terrorist. They knew. The people like you said, everybody is watching this is a good human being, and you're not gonna have any problems because you're gonna be honest. You're gonna be authentic.
Mhm,
But here's the last thing to keep your flying travel experience super smooth. Don't just check the area you're going, but make sure you check the destination, especially if you have a layover flight. Because every time we go to Europe, we always have a layover flight. Depending on where we're going, we always have a layover flight in both directions. And so we landed in Heathrow, had to take all of our luggage off the plane and then put it back on to continue going to Vienna. And the Heathrow's version of TSA and their rules about what you can and cannot carry were wildly different than JFK where we flew out of. So I mean, we had people were throwing stuff away. We were in line there for 3 hours. Luckily, we had an eight
mhm.
hour layover, but it was just very. I get it, and I thank them for keeping us safe. But maybe they should have told us that. Maybe there should have been a little printout that said, "Hey, you're going from uh, America to Heathrow, then you're going from Heathrow to Vienna." Just so you know, they were telling us all that stuff about COVID. So just that would have been great. So Google that and find out people's experience. And you could probably be able to find it on TripAdvisor, but find people's experiences with the TSA and other cities, states, and countries.
Yeah, the one thing I learned, a tip that I just recently saw that I want to try um, in the future, which is also it's like a enhanced TSA pre-check, is that the Orlando airport, and I'm assuming other ones do it. I have to look a little more into it. You can actually book your time of when you're going to go through ahead of time.
Really?
So if you're like, okay, you're looking at your thing, your flight's at 1 o'clock, we're going to be there by 11. You can go online, book ahead of time, and say, okay, my time's going to be 11:15, and
Hmm.
then it's like a fast pass. You walk up, like, here's my thing, 11:15, and
Hmm.
boom, they put you right through.
Wow,
Because
that's good.
Orlando is usually pretty crazy, and
Yeah, it is.
with all the Disney flights and things like that. So that's something to look at too, is to see what airports you can do that as well. But that's
Yeah,
something to
but
look at.
I've never had to wait more than a minute at the most. I'm usually not ready. I kind of got the hang of it now, but the first couple of times you're like, "Come on," I'm like,
Yeah.
they're like, "Don't worry, chill. You're relaxed.
It's
You're
all
good."
good. It's all good. Well, that's all I want to talk about a little about traveling and domestic flights and what you can and can't bring on. So, we obviously move a lot and want to try to help out and get some information. But, anyone at home, if you got any tips or tricks to help the
Yeah.
traveling experience, please let us know in the comments below.
Yeah,
And
and if anybody's used global entry, because that's another one that you could do with immigrations and customs enforcement is global entry. So it's supposed to speed that up. We should have done it, but we didn't try to apply for it and soon enough the first time we went to Slovakia because one of my wife's family members was having a medical issue, so we had to go really quick, so we couldn't do it. But we're watching people use it. And I'm like, wow, that looks
yeah.
awesome. You know. So if anybody's done that, please throw that in the comments and let us know if you think it's worth it.
Okay. Yeah, we can touch on that in the future for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out, everybody, watching. And Corey, where can they check you out? What do you got going on?
Safetyman.co at safetyman.co. I'm always putting new stuff up there. I'm the lead instructor at a virtual indoor range called Tech Target indoor range in South Jersey, and I'm finding that my clients who want to get their permit to carry a handgun or just want to learn something about winning communication and being able to de-escalate a potentially violent encounter and so forth, it's really good because I take you through some target practice, get your shooting skills good, and then we start working on those force on force situations where you have to make a determination. Can I de-escalate this? Do I have to shoot, not shoot, present my firearm, and so forth? And it really gets people thinking and understanding, wow, I really do. It gets them to appreciate the need for continued training under a little bit more stressful conditions with a firearm.
All right, everyone, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, give us a little follow, give us a little support, and let us know what you want to see on the future episodes.
Indeed,
Thank you
stay
very
safe
Yeah.
and train now.
See you on the next one, guys and girls.